All right, what's up, guys? Right, okay, so I'm recovering, like I said, for the last couple days. If you saw my video yesterday, that recovering from that C19 monster of a beast out there. I hope, and at the point where, like, should you be on camera already? Should you do it? It's been pretty rough, but what's happened is being laid out. I've actually gone down a rabbit hole on YouTube, something that hasn't happened in quite a while, and talk about a lot going on if you're on YouTube. But if you zoom out, it's not that big a deal. But still, it is something I found pretty interesting. And it's sort of like there's things. Hey, what's up, guys? We already got people jumping in here. So years ago, I made this video about what was going on with comics. It was like probably my first video that actually went viral, and I've still got it up. You know what it is, you know what it is. If you don't, you don't. I'll leave it up for posterity and stuff. I'd probably relabel the thing and redo some of the wording and stuff, but otherwise, it is what it is. It was made in 2016. A couple years later, with crowdfunding going up through Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and stuff like that, I predicted this could be a new tool that could really blow up to have comics out there, not from companies, DC, Marvel, and then the smaller companies and stuff that some people still kind of label indie and things like that. IDW, Oni Press, things like that. Boom, Dynamite, smaller companies and stuff, right? And then, like, as always, I've sort of like predicted that, the next wave of comics could be the next age, next era. I don't know, Rob Ripa. Actually, before I get on here, Rob Ripa, the documentary is actually how I ended up doing this and stuff, this video topic and stuff. I'm actually watching the documentary later today because I'm home alone, where I've got this C19, if you will. So I'll be checking that out. But anyway, and then, like, there's been multiple videos where I'm like, around the corner, there's bound to be a new age of comics, and what's been going on the last 6, 7, whatever it is now, 8 years, whatever, in comics, is going to be a black eye when you zoom out and look at the big history of comics. And the zoom out is going to be the word in this. That may be the theme, the zoom out and stuff like this, right? So basically, I went down the rabbit hole, man. And it really amazed me, some of the things I saw. And then I realized it's still not a huge victory per se, unless you're involved in that culture war with Comicsgate, anti-Comicsgate, whatever they're calling themselves now, and things that are going on. And I lost a lot of viewers way back in the day, and really kind of ended up out of the loop on YouTube because I would not pick a side, and then I didn't want to talk about certain things because that made it look like you picked a side. Because I don't see a whole lot of difference between the two sides, other than one side is actually able to actually being more wronged than the other, in several ways, and one that same side is able to at least come on camera or do a video or talk with people and present themselves in a way that they don't come off as crazy. They have social skills, you know what I'm saying? Um, and then, to me, that's the difference, man. A lot of people believe behavior and actions more than words that are actually spoken. And me being me, and things like that, nobody wants to hear me, like, go on big rants about behavior and actions and all this stuff, because it makes me feel like I'm at work. But anyways, but something that I found really interesting, let's go ahead, yeah, that I found was fantastic and interesting. That's how I went down this rabbit hole. Is I was looking up a documentary that was cyberpunk, that was um, recommended to me, a 3-part cyberpunk, and I was getting ready to start looking for it, and in my feed, and I actually had a message or two on Instagram like, check this out, check this out. And what we're talking about is, if you guys know the channels, that's great. If you don't, that's another thing. There we go. So is this Ripaverse, right? Last I was looking at the videos and stopped watching them and having everybody talk about them, and then looking up all this sort of stuff that's going on the Twitters and social media and everything, is a guy named Ripa who has his own channel. From what I can tell, man, the guy podcasts, does all kinds of things. There's probably, no doubt in my mind, people who know exactly who this is. And then there's a bunch of you like me who are just sort of like, I kind of saw a video or two by this guy. But anyway, he ended up with no marketing. That's what amazes me. From what I understand, he already has the book complete and ready to go. And the last I checked, he had $1.8 million of this backed. And there's tons of videos talking about this, the respect for it, and how this is a huge victory, and DC and Marvel should be worried about it. And if you go on and look at these videos and stuff, everybody seems to have their take and everything, right? And then there's the normal players and all of this and stuff, right? You have what is it? The Ethan Van Sciver, Comic Pro Secrets. I ran across videos. I apologize for probably butchering these. I'm still cognitively got a brain fog from the C19. It's all in my head. It's just about getting it out correctly. You know, Ryan Kelly, The Quartering, Neurotic, all these guys have made videos and stuff, and you can see all of them doing live shows that go extremely long and stuff. Hills versus Babyface and stuff. And you know, it's just like it's a lot of momentum, and I'm really interested in the comic, but it's caught up in all this quagmire and stuff, right? And one video in particular, see if I can get it to share, that I saw in all of this that I thought was fantastic is, if I can get it to come up, was a guy named Razor Fist, who, if you haven't checked out his stuff, you should check out his stuff. Let me get it back up here, right? And Razor Fist is not somebody that I am subscribed to, but I check out his stuff. I found him through talking about Elric, Michael Moorcock's Elric sagas, and he has these fantastic rundowns and reviews and understanding of the character. And then when I saw him, it was sort of a kindred spirit. If it was 30 years ago, I would probably approach a lot of things, including my delivery, even though it would not be as graceful, poetic, and well written as what he does. And I can flat out say passionate and everything like that. The guy's just heavy, and I enjoy watching him and hearing his takes on things, especially how he spins them, even when I do not agree with them. Which is not a big deal. But what's great about his character, or if it is him, is that you know full well he does not give a shit what you think, and that is just something I respect. That's very punk. So I ran across this video right here at the very top. I'm not going to click on it here, but it says, "Don't cry about the culture, become the culture." And it was very ironic with some of the things he said in there, because the message is dead on. The video that I had go viral way back in 2016, I flat out start out showing you how I show you the dynamics of a comic book and how you make one and the tools you use. And I ended it as a bookend with make your own comics and see how that goes. And that's why I kind of sort of like this. After all these years of raging and having an online culture war that does spill into the real world, where we have people just slamming and going after Disney, anything Disney, and bad movies, which they are just bad sometimes, folks, and stuff like that. They've got quite a big following, man, and there's quite a subculture, and I do feel fine saying that, big subculture that is into all this stuff and everything like that. It's really fascinating. And then you can come in and dip your toes in, and they might have an interesting video. I mean, if you're into comics and you're on YouTube, you'd have to live under a rock not to know all this stuff, right? Problem is I've seen groups and topics and themes and things with these subcultures on YouTube, if you will, that have come and gone. The atheist community. I mean, I mentioned Shoe on Head and a few other pin names. Jeff Holiday, Shoe on Head, Undoom, Barry, and all this stuff. These guys used to be huge, and they were like raging against the culture war and stuff, and Mundane Matt and all this stuff. And they always seem to implode in ways, or fade out, or disappear, or some people come in and change what they're doing and things. And I'm still convinced that's sort of what Comicsgate and anti-Comicsgate and all this stuff is going to be. But then you turn around and you have a guy that has made $1.8 million to my last understanding, which is phenomenal. I think that is fantastic. He built up his audience over the years, no matter what it is. And I think it's a bigger victory than Ethan Van Sciver coming back with his Cyberfrog and stuff, because he was established in comic books for decades. I mean, on his shows, he comes out and tells you he's a such and such year veteran of the comic book industry and stuff, right? So it's one thing for him to come back after them trying to cancel him and all those horrible things they said about him, whether you like him or not. And all of a sudden, he's made millions as well. He made the last time that I was checking things out regularly, he had, I guess, bought a house off of his proceeds off of one of his Cyberfrog campaigns. That was several years ago, right? Didn't make a secret about it, right? But what they do though is what kind of got me about this video is that go watch the video, check out Razorfish, whether you like him or not. It's entertaining. He reminds me of what people used to say about Diamond Dallas Page for you guys that watch wrestling in the 90s. A wrestler was talking about Diamond Dallas Page before he came on the rise and got super popular, was that he lived his gimmick. Okay, it was a gimmick. There was the person, then there was the wrestling character, and they sort of became one, sort of like the Monkees becoming a real band, or if Buzz Aldrin had turned around and really ended up being on the Enterprise and Star Trek and stuff. And that's what he reminds me of. This is a guy that comes off like, seems to live his gimmick and stuff, right? And like I said, his delivery and things, the way he waxes poetic with this heavy metal shine on it and stuff, and punk attitude, just it makes me smile sometimes. But it's a lot to take in a lot of times, right? In his video, I think we've all seen it. In his video, he was talking about you become the culture. You can keep fighting and keep doing this and keep doing that, or you can just put out your stuff and get out there and stuff, right? So that's been part of my problem with not really back in the day when it was more relevant, announcing which if I was on a side. I've never been on a side my whole life. Right and wrong, the little guy, the underdog, things like that. I was more attracted to, man. The establishments, the successful people, the people who already had their bedrock, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you've already made it, in my opinion. I'm not real worried about, you already got the numbers and stuff. What's around the corner? What's different to talk about? What do I find more interesting? Cantankerous is what I am. And what really gets me is that they're taking the what I consider the victory for the Ripa. If I knew his actual name, I'd say it and be more respectful and stuff, right? To me, this is his victory. He did the work. He built up the audience, and all of a sudden, it's paid off for him. And that's the thing with a lot of people that's in Comicsgate. It's no secret. It's nothing like that. It's what I kind of, sort of suspected before it actually happened, is that they say they're friends, but they're not really friends. They're all in this to make money. They all have their campaigns going, their books out there, and they put it out there. And it's all dependent on having an enemy, which are the anti-Comicsgate, the extreme leftist, whoever, whatever. And there's a lot of things back and forth on that. It's just nasty if you go in that quagmire and stuff. Not my thing. They yell Twitter is not a real place yet. They pull from a lot of Twitter accounts and stuff. It's little hypocrisies like that add up to nothing. But I'm still like, it doesn't feel like there's things moving forward. You can't end a war when you are profiting off of it. You know what I mean? Like, but you've controlled the narrative, saying we're going to win this, we're going to become the culture, we're going to do everything. But there is one side that is actually doing more than saying, yet they control the narrative. And this is where they need to zoom out, right? It is Eric July's, that's his name, I'm sorry, Eric July Ripa. It is his victory, his work. He put everything in there, and he seems to come off very humble and grateful for what he has, right? But then you have all these other people coming in and saying this is a victory for all of us, and we're become the culture. And then in Razor Fist's video, if you go back and watch it, he's saying it's a dawning of a new age. It's going to be the Iron Age. And I was like, wow. Yeah. So it's all worked in with their books. As a viewer on the outside of it, it was sort of obvious that with some people it is a work to sell books, and there's some people, it's a scale for different people. There's people who get into this because they really believe in what they're seeing and what they're doing. That's part of being young, and then all of a sudden you sort of see the curtain. You look behind the curtain, like in the Wizard of Oz and stuff, and you see what's really going on. And I feel like that a lot of it is there was an audience there hungry for comics and stuff. So yeah, I think there's people in there definitely, and it's kind of obvious with a lot of them, I believe it, because some of them will come out and just say it. But like I said, I've gone down the rabbit hole in the last couple of days because of having this virus and stuff and can't get out and been on my back a lot, But and I saw this before. I've said some of this stuff before, which is why I haven't really kept up with it. But yeah, there's different scales with people. Some people believe in what they're doing, and some people are like, "This is I can make some money." So that's one of the reasons I like respect the Razor Fist, which is why I'm kind of bringing him up out of all this stuff, right? But like I said, in his video, he's bringing up that this is a dawning of a new age and stuff. And there's what I'm talking about. You're controlling the narrative. You can have a huge fan following on YouTube. You can have a huge social media following. You can have, you can get caught up in this bubble Whereas a lot of these people, and I'm one of them, says Twitter is not real. But at the same time, you think you've started a new dawning, a new age. And what it is it comes more like either delusional or propaganda a little bit. You're controlling the narrative to say that this is a huge victory. You haven't won this war that you're in. You don't want this war to really end, or you're going to have nothing that you pulled from for your channel. Is what I think. That's how it comes off. Now, Howler Mouse, you got a tiny little channel here, even though you've been around for a long time. And why are you reporting all this stuff and everything like that? Because I find it interesting, and that's all this is. I'm not saying anything personal about these people. I don't know them, don't care to know them, but it's just fascinating for me to see something that is YouTube, where it's out of people's rooms, and it's as entertaining as some big drama on television unintentionally. You know what I mean? A lot of people are still on the outside of all this. And this isn't fun to hear. A lot of people are just going to be like, what's he talking about? And that's fine. That's fine. But but go and watch some of this stuff and just sort of make sure that you don't get into the thing. Zoomed out, you're going to realize that you cannot start a new age of comics. You're caught in a bubble, and it's more about a narrative and perceptions that you're putting out there. It's like it's a war, like we'll say that it's an actual war on actual land, and you're trying to convince the people that we've had this huge victory. You might as well stop fighting. That's controlling the narrative. That's psychological warfare and stuff. And that's why I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my God. Then you find out there's people making millions of dollars. No wonder with that potential, they're going to invest themselves in it. That's fantastic. What we got here? Sleepy Reader. I used to watch these people 4 more years ago, but they don't even pop up in my suggestions anymore. Probably better for my blood pressure. Yeah. And I've had spells where I was in, out, and it got less and less and less over the years and stuff, because a lot of people expected me to pick a side. I have comments up and things like that where people were like, it seems like Heller Mouse is on the fence. And now think about this. With me saying that, this was like 5, 6, 7 years ago, and this shit is still going on. Right? This thing has outlasted atheist communities and Laughing Witch and oh God, what was that? Thunderfoot. I mean, I can go way back on a bunch of groups that dominated YouTube and stuff, and they all like faded away. Something about comic books, even this little comic book community that started back in like 2000, I don't know, 10, 9, and things like that. Even though it's nothing like what it used to be, a lot of people are still surviving in this, and I'm surprised this anti-Comicsgate, Comicsgate, that came out of Gamersgate. Seriously, a lot of people just sort of zoomed over from it, came over here, and then there's some people smart enough to turn around and make money off of it. I don't know how much people believe their own bullshit in this stuff, but what I am seeing is a lot of people starting to get an inflated sense of importance because they have a YouTube following and stuff, right? This is not mainstream. This is not the real world. You can't start a new age. Like I said, they're wanting to call it the Iron Age is what Razor Fist dubbed it and stuff, saying that this is going to be a new movement. What I think we are at, with a grain of salt from a guy that is in his comic book room and has just read comic books for a long time and is sitting around with brain fog from his C-19 pandemic. And I've said it for a while, but I've said it for so long it's yet to come to real fruition. But is that we're at an end of an age. I don't even think the new age is anywhere near for something that is substantial enough and big enough and a shot in the arm to say that there's a new comic book age. To me, anybody saying that is controlling the narrative, something that they point the finger at the other side, which is why I don't like to pick a side on this. It's not being a wimp or anything like that. It's just I see right and wrong on both sides. More wrong, more right. Wait a few weeks, more wrong, more right. It switches around back and forth. But once you get caught up in all this stuff and you start seeing the infighting in the groups, which always comes, and finding out that the money, what was it, Comic Book Cut and Doug Ernst, that's something I ran across a few weeks ago, but really dived into the last couple of days. Due to being on my back once I started getting rolling on this stuff like that. Same thing. I've seen it happen dozens of times in petty stuff and everything, right? So it's entertainment is the way I would see it. But I think if you're going to give your allegiance to something, make sure it's something real that you are going to partake on. When we have a lot of people who are going to keep doing it because there are millions of dollars involved. And that just blows my mind. The last big thing that I saw that I would consider to a shot in the arm for comics and a big event was in 1992 when I was starting my first semester at a college. I think I just finished that semester and ended up going sporadically off and on for years till I finished in my 30s. But when I got my shit together, was when I was outside, probably in the smoking area of a community college, and I was whisked away by my friends saying, "You got to get in here." And there's a little room that the college had that had pool tables, jukeboxes, and a big screen TV. And on CNN, right there is the Image Gang on CNN announcing Image Comics and stuff. Ran all Rob Liefeld, Sylvester McFarlane, all of them just lined up at a press conference and stuff, right? That's not what's going on here. Okay. When and I'll give you an example, right? When NFT started becoming big and then people raging against them, can you name the one comic book artist that came on there and ended up getting about $3 to $4 million for one NFT? It was huge there for a while. Can you name it? No. And that's what this Comicsgate stuff is going to be later on. You might reminisce about it. It's like your favorite TV show. If you can go back, it's not actual, it's comic book history per se by, what's the word I'm looking for, man? By a loophole, if you will, because it is comics and people work in comics and these topics come through. But when was the last time you actually saw reviews of these comics? When was the last time you heard about the structure of the comics? When was the last time you saw something other than a live draw stream to show you where they're at with the comic, or they're killing two birds with one stone, keeping that audience engaged while they're trying to get their product out and stuff, right? And then whenever one starts faltering, one's video starts going down, and this is what I noticed the last few days. I could be completely wrong on this part, and that's fine. It's not that big a deal. But is it diversity in comics? Seems like his views have gone down. I saw some video or two where Ethan Van Sciver was saying some crowdfunding problems are happening there, and then all of a sudden an SJW video comes up. To get views, just put SJW in it. I learned that quite by accident and stuff, right? So I'm not saying anything per se bad about this. I'm just saying let's get into reality about what's going on. You've had a victory, you have not won a war, and you actually think these guys are pretty smart. As long as you keep having a common enemy to create the drama with and to fight back on and be reactionary with and things like that, you got to have that to maintain your audience when that's what it depends on. It's just common sense. Controlling narratives, very good term. Thank you. I just made it up out of my head, and I'm sure I've heard it somewhere before. I'm like, I'm not going to say that's a Howler Mouse original. You know what I'm saying? But for people that have gotten in here just now, I've got the C19 virus. I kind of question if I should even be on here with the brain fog I have right now, but not being able to go out, not having energy to do anything. I ended up going on the phone looking for a documentary and had a message or two about check out Ripa's comic blowing up, and went down the rabbit hole. I'm still going to be watching the Cyberpunk three-part documentary that Rob Ripa requested. Right, I went down the rabbit hole, man. What can I say? You can sit there and you can read, Isaac Asimov. You can read Michael Moorcock, Philip Jose Farmer, Douglas Adams, and all these people. But then there's sometimes where you go through the grocery store and you get the fucking Inquirer and you're caught. I'm like, so yeah, I'm owning it, man. I've had a trash TV day or two. At least it's not the Kardashians or I'm going to stop there. Oh, brain fog. You got that right. Yeah, that brain fog is not fun, man. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to put it out there, man. It's like the war that they are in is not real. It is real to them. It is real if you're online, and there's plenty to pull from. Basically, now that the things that's going to end what they call a war is going to be age, time, people getting responsibilities, getting bored, moving on. And then the movies and the comic books and things like, I feel like I'm coming up with a bottom line, like this is how simple it is for things to get fixed and stuff, right? But there is a lot of garbage television coming out, a lot of garbage movies coming out that just don't flow. And then you end up having something like the sequel to Top Gun coming out and getting people's attention. The Marvel movies are sliding, going downhill. But when you consider what Iron Man came out in 2008, when you consider, we're like on 15, 16 years of Marvel movies, like any genre, it's going to die down a little bit, or if not go away altogether. An example of this in movies would be the Cowboys. Go back and look how big Cowboys were. John Wayne, Lone Ranger TV shows, cowboy movies. And every now and then you would have a great one pop up like Young Guns and Silverado and stuff, but it used to be the genre. You had television shows that went for decades on television about cowboys and things like that. And that's really what's going on with the superhero stuff. The thing about comic book movies that really surprises me as part of this culture war that's going on and stuff is, yes, they are doing things to try to market to a younger audience and pulling up these characters that are not successful in comics. There's no argument there. Okay. And that's not bashing them either and stuff, but is that comic books has an 80-year history. Marvel has a 60-year history, 61-year history now. In my opinion, there's really no reason for these comic books to slide and become dull and boring when there is so much to pull from in the comics and so many great characters you can pull out. So that's what really makes this different than me doing that comparison to cowboy movies with superhero movies and stuff, right? The variety, you had a cowboy movie can be a cowboy movie, right? Red Sun, a Charles Bronson cowboy. I don't like cowboy movies, but I like a good movie. Charles Bronson, a samurai in a movie called Red Sun. Classic, fantastic. There's so many things you can still do, is what I'm trying to get at, instead of making the same cowboy movie over and over and over, right? Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, man, still classics and stuff, right? So that's what I'm trying to get at. There is still no excuse for it because you have more to pull from in variety. Comic books, the comic books it used to be, and it should still be, you collect what you love. And if you have variety in your collection, that's the secret to having a great collection and keeps you interested in this and stuff, right? But no, we're involved in the culture war that everybody wants to fight back and forth on and stuff, right? Apparently it's working because we have people making millions of dollars. Is everybody making millions of dollars? No, but there is success coming from more than one side. If you have a side, you got one side that it could be perceived is losing, but we're talking about profit. And then how did they get that profit? They built up an audience by being involved in the cultural war and making you feel like you are on their side. We're in this together. It's the Stan Lee thing that he did in the 60s with Marvel. We're all in this together, guys. The pulse on there and stuff, right? So nobody can be slammed, in my opinion, for success. Nobody can be slammed for supporting these channels or whatever side you want to be on. I think it's just you need to zoom out and realize it's not as big as you think it is. It needs to be zoomed out and realize that some people aren't into what they're saying as much as you are into what you're believing and being involved in it. I think you need to remember you're a person and you can still think for yourselves. I can listen to both sides. There's more channels for one side that I'm aware of and stuff after what I've seen the last few days and what I've dabbled in over the years and stuff, right? But yeah, I can totally see the perception that one side is winning a war that isn't real. I'm like, culture is going to rise when people want to start making money again, or the audience is somehow things are going to have to shift. There still has to be a change, but that's the part of evolutions. Things that do not change die. Thus, how we went from cowboys to Star Wars, if you will. You follow what I'm saying? And look how long sci-fi lasted with the influence of Star Wars proper when it came out. And then look what happened to it when they do shitty Star Wars movies. We have people making channels raging against the culture war and stuff, right? But like I said, there's still hope out there. I just want, it's almost become a cliche because what I almost just said. You want great stories with this and that and everything like that. I want things that are interesting, diversity of ideas again that go out there. And things like Top Gun and the success, Stranger Things, season 3 of The Boys, which I would have to dissect and unpack to tell you why that's blew up in my mind after 3 seasons, which I think is fantastic, even though it has had some very cringy moments. I will say that. But like I said, I think this is more of a side effect than it is the actual disease, the focus. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So let's see what we got to say here now. Okay, Sleepy Reader. Now I'm trying to think of what age comics were actually in. The foamy soap age, maybe. Everyone off on their own bubble. There you go. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's time for, Sleepy, here's the thing, right? With your comment, it's not so much what you said, it's that you're thinking. And I think it's time that we should be able to talk about comics in the age of comics. Because at the end of the day, as much as we love comics, as much as people have been invested in them and spent their time and how long we've done this, be it 5 minutes, be it 50 years or whatever, and there are people coming up on that 50-year mark and stuff. Very few have actually gone past that. We should be able to talk and discuss this and bring the focus back on the comics without. We should be able to coexist without having to say that you're anti-Comicsgate or Comicsgate because you made a comment on it. It doesn't mean you picked a side. You know what I'm saying? I can read fucking Booster Gold and put my hate to the side of it and say if that's an actual good Booster Gold story or not. You know what I'm saying? I don't like Booster Gold. I hate Booster Gold. But by God, if somebody writes a good Booster Gold story, I'll say it's a good story. Okay. There's been one. Okay. So, okay. In my opinion, and that's what I wished brain fog. Yeah. In my opinion, there's a Booster Gold story that I actually get a little mad at myself because I'm like, damn, that was good. There's bigotry on both sides perpetuated for decades by now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to bottom line everything in one video. I'm just saying I wish they would zoom out, and a lot of the people who watch those channels would zoom out and realize it's not as big as it is when you're caught in it, right? When a hurricane hits, okay, from the outside, you see it over there. That's a big destructive funnel over there, but it goes on. And then you go on with your day, or you watch the news, or you check up on what happened. But within a month or something, you've moved on, right? But when you're inside the hurricane, when you're part of the hurricane, you're in the center and all this stuff is spinning around you and you don't see the outside world. That's what it's like. They're inside the hurricane, not outside of the tornado. Excuse me, the tornado. Okay, oh man, Sequential Geek is on this, man. Most places I've worked at, Microsoft, Honeywell, Ford, all over the fake country, Americans being passive aggressive or assertive, yet they get away with that in the office and stuff, right? Well, now you're getting into elitism and social economic and power. Um, and I totally get how you're looking at. I think I see where you're kind of coming with some of the stuff. I'm sure you got more to say. As long as management can keep up with metrics, KPIs, and budget, they do not care about lack of cooperation and accountability. Okay. Everyone's stuck in remakes right now in all genres. Either that or they are turning to the 80s, like Stranger Things, for example, and the Kate Bush song going to #1 on the charts, right? Well, there's a little bit here. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm actually probably going to end this here, right? Because I want it to be in a broke record. Okay. I'm not super passionate about what I'm saying, but I'm going to end up just repeating myself. I could already feel it happening and stuff, right? But the thing about this is that the remakes that go after built-in audiences. Comic books had a built-in audience and they didn't want them. It's been said. It's documented in their tweets, it's documented in their attitudes and stuff, which was crazy, right? So Hollywood supposedly wants to bring back these licenses because they don't have to build up an audience and stuff, right? Which blows my mind. Then you get into paying royalties, which they're trying to get out of and stuff all the time and everything, right? It's still a business side of it, and that's what people seem to be forgetting. You can be into the cultural war, but somebody is on the business side, and when that business side is corrupted, and these people are making failure after failure and doubling down, you're just giving these guys on the other side of the cultural war exactly what they need. If you make a standard, and that's a problem. The standard with a lot of comics, the bar has been lowered so much, it wouldn't really be hard to come out with something that's great, by comparison. Not that it's actually great, but by comparison, right? But people are also nostalgia. That's what I was going to get at here with the Stranger Things now. Yeah, some of it's nostalgia, but look at the numbers. 1 billion hours watched of Stranger Things 4. That's not nostalgia. That's them having a fantastic story and season and making sure they had time to construct what they were making and do it. Eddie Munson is going to be with me for life with that character. I could do a whole video on why. We got here. I remember when your video in 2016 came out, I misinterpreted heavily because at the time I still had the Comicsgate mentality. Creating your own stuff is the key. Creativity greater than complaining. Exactly, right? And one of the things that I do when I would review books or something, say something's not bad, one of the things I am well aware of that will actually turn me off of myself and other people when there were more book reviews up is when they would do the complaint, that's not how I would have done it. There is a there is a contract you have as a reader, as a viewer, with the writer and the people providing you the entertainment. And the contract is that you will suspend your disbelief. And there's many things to it. You'll suspend your disbelief and accept what they're giving you, that it's going to have its own rules. It'll be its own world, and they won't take liberties with characters. That's why there's a lot of people making these videos, is because Marvel and DC have taken such liberties with their characters. They broke the contract first. I really struggled going back and forth with all the hate going towards a lot of new comics and stuff. So I realized they broke the contract with the readers first, and that's all it. There was things that readers were not supposed to do, like if you did not like a person's work, so you were watching a play, you didn't go after people personally, that made that work. You kept it to the work itself. You didn't get personal. And that's where I have a problem. That's why I don't see a lot of difference between both sides sometimes. Okay. My point is, the stuff with the woke and CG is not just around for a few years. Unlike the 20th century stuff, like this would last maybe 10 years the most, as these wars last. Well, what would the X factor, geek, is to me is that we have social media, and these people can find each other and feed off each other and empower and bolden each other. When it's like-minded people, I've always talked about those moments growing up, and I'm bringing back to comics, growing up, reading those comics. And it's a very personal thing to do, where you sit down and read a comic, even if you don't think it's personal, it's just you in the book. Then all of a sudden you meet other people who are actually into comics, not dabble in comics, not used to do comics, not to do this and that. You got around those people and you were energized and stuff. And that's the difference why it's hard to predict how long this is going to last, and be surprised how long it's going to last. Because growing up, we didn't have the social media to find each other. You had a comic book shop, comic book convention, a spinner rack, just a moment in a conversation. If you were like at a bar or something, or shopping, where you mentioned a comic and somebody jumps right on it, things like that. So yeah, it's a different world. It's a different world. And I would really hate to think that something like this is going to be the standard. I mean, this is what it's going to take to be on YouTube and social media, and to be a part of things. Always going to have some kind of drama going on. Me personally, I feel like it's very middle school. That's one of the things why I can't. That's another reason I just can't delve into it, man. It's grown adults acting like children. It blows my mind. It just blows my mind. Yet, if I started making that argument, somebody can come back at me saying you're talking about comics, something that's for kids, because the stigma is still alive out there. Once you zoom out and get away from all these comic book friends that we found on YouTube together and social media and stuff, you zoom out, you still got the normies out there that are just they got that same stigma that people had about comics in the 50s and the 80s. It's just the intensity, the frequency, the zeitgeist, what they're saying. So yeah. To me, comics is an institution, and to me, people in the know, I really wish we could all just be in the know together so we can enjoy this hobby. But I'm trailing off on something else here. So anyway, I think I've said what I had to say. That's a good 39-minute video. And I'm gonna go on here, and I'm going to hydrate and take some medicine, because feeling like crap now. So this wore me out. I might take a nap. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for everybody that's popped in here. Thanks for sticking around with letting me get this off my chest. Thanks for the great comments that are out here. And Rob Ripa, thanks for the Cyberpunk Part 3 documentary. I'm actually going to be looking it up this afternoon. I'm going to be home by myself for quite a bit. Everybody be excellent to each other.